Good, happy Sunday morning, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to Politics with Riley King. Let's begin. Failure of Republican repeal and replace bills keep Medicaid expansion alive. The Affordable Care Act, which allows states to expand their Medicaid programs to include those up to 138% of the property level, was on the Capitol Hill chopping block earlier this year. But when Republican efforts to repeal and replace the law failed, the program survived. Now, as the result of a major change of health care implemented 3 weeks ago by the Trump administration, some states are moving to implement work requirements that would affect some Medicaid expansion participants. With attention in Congress now focused on immigration and a budget with a Trump administration infrastructure plan on the horizon, another GOP for a broad repeal and replace plan seems unlikely before the midterm elections. Departure of only black senator leaves void in Massachusetts State House. In a week of major developments on Beacon Hill, the sudden departure of State Senator Linda Dorka-Farrar may easily have been the most surprising of all. The Boston Democrat caught many of her colleagues off guard with Thursday's announcement that she was leaving the Senate to become a vice president at Suffolk, a permanent Boston construction firm. The daughter of Haiti immigrants and the state's only black senator, her sudden resignation left a large void to fill for advocates of minority inclusion in state government. It also triggered renewed speculation over the potential outcome of an ongoing ethics probe involving former Senate President Stan Rosenberg. In December, after Rosenberg's decision to step aside as senator leader for the duration of the investigation, Dorothy Furey was one of the first senators to make public her interest in the presidency should a permanent vacancy arise. During her relevantly short stint in the Senate, Dorothy Furey had clearly won respect and admiration not only within the chamber but a wider Boston political establishment. She won a 2013 special election in a Senate district that had long been represented by the Irish Catholic men, including William Burlarg, the former longtime Senate President. Dorothy Furey, 44, had only been mentioned as a potential future mayor contender, an avenue that would not be closed off by her move to a private sector. The announcement brought renewed speculations that Rosenberg could extraordinary, eventually allowing him to reclaim the presidency. He was first elected in January 2015. Such a turn of events would close the door to Dorothy Furry and other senators interested in claiming the leadership ladder. A Boston law firm hired by the Senate Ethics Committee is investigating whether Rosenberg violated any Senate rules in connection with allegations against his husband, Brian Herfer. The Boston Globe reported in December that several men, including some with business before the legislature, had accused Herfner of sexual harassment or abuse. Rosenberg has denied knowledge of Herfner's alleged misconduct and maintains his husband extraordinary no influence over legislative affairs. The Amherst Democrat recently revealed he had separated from Herfer, who is receiving treatment for alcohol dependency. Little is known about the status of the probe beyond a Thursday's statement for the Ethics Committee that it was active in progressing. The panel, in a statement, said it did not know the names of any individuals who had shared information with the independent investigator and had taken steps to protect the confidentiality of witnesses going forward. The departure of Dorothy Ferrari, a former chair of the legislature's Black and Latino caucus, was a disappointment to advocates for minority representation for immigrants whose cause she had championed during her political career that began in the House in 2005. Despite a reputation for progressive politics, the Massachusetts legislation is properly less diverse than those in many smaller-sized states. A 50-state analysis by the Associated Press in 2016 showed that while the state's population was 73.8% white, 92% of its state legislators were white. Democratic Rep. Russell Holmes, also a past chair of the Black and Latino caucus and at-large Boston City Hall counsel Anna Presley, were among those weighing possible runs for the seat Dorothy Furr held in the Senate. Amid turmoil, Trump seeking a rest with Senate with State of the Union. Let's take a listen to the video.
Having having Crohn's disease made me wonder about the future.
It can be upsetting trying to grasp the reality of the situation.
Having Crohn's made me realize that we're going to experience conflict and discomfort. I mean, I walked out of my brother's wedding to an outhouse.
There are going to be ups and downs, but at the end of the day, if you ever think, why me, just know that you're not alone.
It helps a lot just to hear from somebody who's been there.
See videos of other Crohn's patients who've been there at realcrohnstalk.com.
President Trump plans to bring his America First ideology to Davos. Questions are swirling over what he'll discuss for his first State of the Union address. For the record, last year's address was technically a joint session of Congress. In anticipation, users on the site predicted are wagering a guess on what topics Trump will and won't mention. Trump has already said he plans to discuss a $1.7 trillion infrastructure package. How about North Korea? 77% on Predictit say we'll hear at least a mention of the reclusive nation, and there might even be a mention of that infamous nickname, Rocket Man.
They will be met with fire and fury.
As for Trump's negotiations with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to end the government shutdown, only 23% think Trump will mention him. Even frequent target, former President Barack Obama has just a 22% chance of receiving a nod, according to users on Predictit. As for the so-called fake news, 32% of traders predict Trump will give a shout-out to them. The largest group of traders on the site are betting less than 42.4 million people are expected to watch Trump's speech come January 30th.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. The note: Mueller controls the clocks as revelations come at a dazzling pace. Let's take a listen to the video from ABC News.
We have some breaking news to begin with. That breaking news from President Trump. He's in Davos, Switzerland this morning, denying a blockbuster report from the New York Times that last June the president ordered the firing of special counsel Robert Mueller before backing down in the face of resistance from his White House counsel. Our chief White House correspondent John Karl starts us off. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. Well, the president earlier this week told me that he is willing to be interviewed by Robert Mueller and is fully cooperating with his investigation. But the Times reports that he ordered Mueller fired 6 months ago. President Trump stuck to the script this morning at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, touting the American economy.
America is open for business, and we are competitive once again. The American economy is by far the largest in the world, and we've just enacted the most significant tax cuts and reform in American history.
Earlier this morning, he insisted he did not try to fire special counsel Robert Mueller.
Fake news, folks, fake news. Typical New York Times fake stories.
But the Times report is quite detailed, saying President Trump ordered White House counsel Don McGahn to fire Mueller and end the special counsel investigation just 1 month after Mueller was appointed to the job. As Mueller began ramping up his investigation, Trump lashed out at what he called a witch hunt, telling associates, according to the Times, he believed Mueller had conflicts of interest. One of the conflicts cited by the president was the fact that Mueller was at the White House being interviewed by the president about possibly returning as FBI director the day before he was appointed special counsel. The president ultimately backed down from firing Mueller, the Times reports, after White House counsel Don McGahn threatened to resign, saying such a move would have a catastrophic effect on Mr. Trump's presidency and would incite more questions about whether the White House was trying to obstruct the Russia investigation. The report of President Trump's move to fire Mueller stands in stark contrast with what he has said publicly about the special counsel.
Mr. President, have you thought about or considered leading to the dismissal of the special counsel? Or is there anything that Bob Mueller could do that you would send you in that direction?
I haven't given it any thought.
Overnight, Democrats sounded the alarm. Senator Mark Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, issued a statement saying, quote, firing the special counsel is a